Yeah, where we think the game should go.
where we think the game should go. Now, do we? I'll start with this. Do we think it should be a Destiny 3, or can Destiny 2 continue on? If First of all, the first caveat there is you got to spend more money on the game. You got to
Yeah.
if you're gonna do this, you got to bring teams back. You got to bring your best and brightest back to create the worlds, the levels, to balance the game. Anything we say that has to be the understood caveat.
Well,
But
there's a
assuming
caveat to that caveat. Can they? Because remember, they have their best guys working on Marathon. Marathon doesn't look great. Okay. Yeah, it's unique. It's not unique in a good way. If you bring those people back, okay. I mean,
Well, if I could wave a
this
magic
is their
wand,
best.
if
All
I could
right.
wave a magic
Yeah.
wand and just say, "Hey, we're gonna bring it back to, um, what was the expansion called? Forsaken." If we could bring it back to Forsaken level funding and the team,
Yeah.
what would you like to see in the game that would improve, or just something to kind of say, hey, whether it be story, whether it be content, what would you like to see?
Well, let's hit it from both angles a little bit like that. I think that's a good idea because if you let's say we think Destiny 2 can be salvaged. Like, let's play let's play devil's advocate for it. What does it need to do? Yeah, not more money, but hey, if Destiny 2 continues, um, if they're just going to keep it all in Destiny 2, I'd say kill off a bunch of characters that are completely uninteresting and bring in some real villains. They have the Indian lady who's in a body. I'm sorry, dude. She's not a threat. She's not interesting. She killed her wife or whatever. Oh yeah, she's gay too. Oh my god, like every other character in that stupid game. But it's like, all right, great. Like, but she's not interesting. She's not a threat, right? It's like, and then again, you said you like you bring in like a cool story. Again, that's not again. It's part of it, right? You can have a great story and that really helps people bring people to a game. I mean, it's definitely worked. But then they need. It's so hard because the Destiny 2, it almost it is even as I'm saying it, it almost feels like it's had its run and it should be retired, right? It's like God, what like yeah, it's because even yeah, he's not even as I'm saying let's consider both angles. What could, what could you do for Destiny 2? You need to they because they're already overhauling all their systems, but is that going to bring people back? I think yeah, no, I'm gonna stick with it. They need a good story hook. Right, the
Mm-hmm.
gameplay has always been great. They need a story hook to really bring people back in. Obviously, they're doing a bunch. They just reverted a bunch of changes in the gameplay side, right? They made the whole portal thing kind of like a mobile game that didn't work, so they're reverting that. Great. You can always do tweaks on things like that. And the core formula has always been great. It's always played really well. It's always fun to play. Um, it's fun to play. The space magic's cool, but yeah, you need like a really good story hook, right?
Yeah, I
You
agree.
know,
I think for me, if we're gonna stick with Destiny 2 and we're gonna just move in to the future, I think we need a break. I think you just need to say, hey, we're gonna stop making some content for a year, right? Give these guys a reset
we
to
got the
say
Sony money. We're okay.
they might not be. I don't know about that.
Well, Sony might break them up, but they still got the Sony money, as in like the Sony owns them now.
yeah,
They
I'm
can
about to say
spend more of their
that's.
money wherever they want. Yeah.
I don't know because see, when you say they have Sony money, where'd that money go? Because if they're in Sony's
Was it
ecosystem,
like
I
it
think they
wasn't a
paid a
stock
bunch
buyback?
of
I mean,
yeah, I think they paid a bunch of the owners off of Bungie and
that's true. That happened. And
yeah,
look, people. Okay, here's okay. People got a lot. Of, people talked a lot of shit about that. But I didn't care. They let a bunch of people go. A bunch of companies let a bunch of people go recently. Like here's a controversial opinion, all right? I actually thought that was okay. If you're like, hey, we want to spend more money on the game, you let a bunch of people who go who are not part of the core process of making the game or not even doing a good job at support. Like, and no one, lest anyone forget, Bungie was going. They had every month they had some weird pride thing or trans thing or something going on in the background. They're paying people to do that. Okay, labor isn't always the most expensive component. So even when they let a bunch of people go, everyone's like, oh my god, Bungie, they fired all these people. And my question was always like, well, who? Because a bunch of people who weren't contributing anything to the company or the game suddenly went on LinkedIn and went, I need a job. So I was totally fine with that. And people were like, "Oh, Pete Parsons, yeah, he might be kind of a crappy CEO. He's kind of, I mean, clearly he was, he's the guy leading forward to the company. Clearly he was there as the company went down.
hmm
They're like, oh, he bought a bunch of money on cars. Okay, if you were rich, you do the same thing. My main complaint with him is he ran the game into the ground and
there
said
you go,
Marathon was going to be the future.
there you
That's what I
go.
care about. I don't care that he fired a bunch of people. It sucks, But again, I was just always like, well, who?
Yeah.
But if you run the game into the ground, that's the problem,
Well, I think
right? Like
that's where no one would be complaining about him buying cars if the game was where it was supposed to be, right? That wouldn't even make
exactly.
the
And
news.
the new guy,
So
the
he's
new guy
getting
is too.
who's
You know
that?
who the new guy is, right? He's the guy, and he's probably not bad. He probably got a little bit thrown out of context a little bit. Well, I don't know. I've watched the full context clip. He was the guy at the I think the new he's not the CEO anymore because Sony owns him. Basically, like the creative head. That's probably the best way to describe it, right? He's got a different position now. He was the guy who, in that video from like the game developers conference, he was like, "Hey, make sure you guys." Again, I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. Basically, he's like, "Hey, don't over deliver. Try don't over deliver because it sets a high standard. You can't do that for a live action game." He caught a lot of, and I guess I would say probably rightly deserved. I've gone back and watched the clip in context to see if it gets better for him. And I understand he's trying to say, hey, trying to keep a good pace for when you're making a live action. But it's like, oh, but you got to over deliver sometimes, man. Sometimes that means you're going to under deliver.
Yeah.
But you can't just be, oh, well, we're gonna trend the middle of the ground.
Right. Right.
It doesn't work like that, man.
Yeah.
So people move on to the next game.
Your average can't be below average. That's what it looks like when he
Yeah,
says
you got
that.
to have your highs and your lows to keep
Yeah.
people in the game.
Yeah. So when I look at Destiny right now, I log in every so often. Sometimes I just get stuck in the lobby,
The
and then I
login
just
screen.
turn the
Yeah,
login
you
screen,
log in and
and
you're
I
like, what am
turn
I
the
doing?
game
And you
off.
turn it off.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
I can't tell you
this
how
is
many times
if
I
you
do
play
that.
Destiny, you know this. Okay, this is the thing. You log in, you're like, yeah, but what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And you go,
You
I guess
watch
I'm
a
gonna go
ship
play something
float.
else.
Yeah, you watch a ship
Yeah,
float in space
exactly.
for a few minutes,
Yeah.
and then you just cut
We've
the game
talked when
off.
we've sat there for like an hour as my ship floats in space. I could load up a strike. I could load up PvP. I don't do anything.
No,
Instead, I
no.
literally just sit there and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm logging off.
Yeah, yeah. So if I had to approach it and say, okay, I think you're spot on with the story. We talked about this before. We need a story. We have post Cataclysm. We're post this crazy thing that happened in the universe. We beat the Witness, right? He brought the original Cataclysm, I think, to us, or what did they call that? The Golden
You
Age.
know what is that in the lore? Well, the Golden Age came from the Traveler, which they never even explained how it kind of happened. And the story beat, but it's like
Well,
the
he's the one
Witness, I
that
guess, is behind it.
I believe
They
he's the
kind of
one that
mention it,
ended
but
the Golden Age, right? He's the one that
yeah,
it was either the
because he
Winter
showed
Worm
up,
or
but
him. But
yeah, see, it's weird, right? It's hard because they never like you go back in the old lore, like they never necessarily clarified it. They didn't give you enough. It felt like they never gave you enough hints to go, oh, it was him. I mean, it may have been, but then why did he just screw off and never come back? I don't know.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna err
yeah.
on the side
Anyway,
of we are just not as well versed in the lore. Even though I would also say for us to have played this game this much and not know that answer,
kind of a mark
is
against
it
it,
a
really,
sender
right?
or is it a receiver issue as far as communication? I would say it's a sender issue, but I would focus now. I mean, you got to give the gamers time to breathe, right? They're trying to jump into this whole other thing with the nine. It's this super complex, heady topic of how the nine operate, and it's like
Yeah, they're
anti-causal.
metaphysical and they're planets or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
they've
it's
got
like, look,
emissaries, and you're
give
like,
us
yeah,
some time to
okay, yeah,
breathe.
yeah, give me a wank here. Who cares, right?
Yeah, give me some time to breathe. Let's get down to some street level problems. Let's look at what happened, the fallout. These people that live in the last city have gone through, catastrophe after catastrophe. Because remember, the game ages as we do. Like year one
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Destiny,
So what do they
all of
do
this
now?
stuff
What
has
do they
happened
do? All
in
right.
years. So the final shape took a year, and then the seasons they're happening. That's why the dawning event happens every year. The dawning is winter for them, so it's not like 100 years passed in the game and we're playing it in 10. It's a one for one as far as our time elapsing and the game's time elapsing. Let's see what happened down in the city. Can we go down into the city? I think the only
That's always
content
been a complaint. That's
we
always been a fair complaint
yeah,
against it.
what like the only time I remember there were some off times where I think that live event where the thing was crashing into the tower, for some reason they
Yeah,
let you go down into the city, but very very briefly just to do
it was
something.
very brief. Yeah, and
Yeah,
there wasn't really anything down there, right? You just kind of
no,
went down there just to. It's just a different angle,
yeah.
really.
There was the raid where you go down into the city and you
Yes. Ooh, I don't.
um
Yeah, that was a fun
that
one.
was a great raid
Okay. The big servitor the final servitor it was a big servitor in a
in
machine,
a mech
right?
suit. Yeah.
Yeah, in a mech. Yeah, that's right. Yep.
Yeah, and you had to take it down the weak points on all different parts of the mech suit. That was the final boss. But that was pretty much your most extensive exposure to the inner city of the last city. We need to actually go down there, and the way you have a zone where you have live events or public events happen, you need public events in the city. We need to get some information on these people we've been protecting for 10 years, right? We
Yeah, you
know
need some
about them.
stakes,
How do they,
basically,
yeah.
right?
Let's fix the issues that they have, right? We've dealt with the intergalactic issues. Let's go down there. What's the one thing people would want to do after they've been traumatized for so long? They want to have some fun, right? I
They
keep
want to have
saying
some
this.
fun. Maybe they want to
Sparrow
expand,
racing.
right?
Sparrow
Oh,
racing.
yep,
Let's do
yep.
let's like they would want to gamble. They want to get their mind off of all
That's where the marathon
the
money is,
game.
dude. Sorry, marathons are taking up all the money. Is
That's
never
why
sparrow racing is never coming back.
that's why my
Okay.
caveat was the money has to be there for these. I do get that. But sparrow racing, I would love to meet a character who's not, the best hunter or the best warlock. Let's meet a guy who's like the best racer, right? He's just the best sparrow racer. He's
Yeah, they mentioned that in the
crazy
lore.
good.
Isn't it even like a Marcus or something like that? Some
Might
guy
be,
like he's
might
in the
be,
lore somewhere, right?
might
There's a
be.
really good one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but stuff like that. We saw the release of Destiny Rising Mobile. I swear they went ahead and did everything that Destiny that we've been asking Destiny to do.
Oh yeah. Well,
As
first
far as
thing they
the
did is made the
social.
characters decent looking, and it was like, oh wow, can
Oh,
this even have
I'll
in
let
this
you talk about
universe?
that. Oh boy, I'll let you talk about
But
that.
this okay, but we're still in the context of keeping Destiny 2 going, right? You
Yes,
go back
yes.
into the city, you basically develop stakes in the sense where you start to learn about the characters that are down there. Just random people, real like human, this is what people always care about, the human, the personal stories, what's going down in this world. This has been a problem to Destiny since the beginning. Hey, you defend the city. Well, what is the city? It's just some glittering skyscape. You need to oh, it got invaded. Okay, the only human that we really met, because the rest of them are just, essentially models that you can walk through, was Hawthorne. And Hawthorne was really annoying. Okay, there's a reason why she never got any voice lines again. All right, it's like give us, yeah, give us something where it's like, hey, we go down and we don't even, it doesn't even have to be combat. Yeah, it could be sparrow racing, be something, just character stories down there that tie in a little bit, or maybe the internal politics a little bit, right? What's going on in the city? How are people feeling? Do they want to expand? Do they want to take a breather? Do they want revenge? Like, oh, they were all really happy and they accepted the Fawn and the Cabal right away. Would they? This has only been like a couple years after the Red War. I would think there'd be like cabal executions in the back
Oh
streets.
yeah,
Okay,
oh yeah.
right?
I mean, they
Like,
did a good job
and
with that
they never
with
touch it.
the fallen though. With the fallen, they come in the Elixir. Let's call them the Elixir. They
Yeah.
come
Well, and
in.
they kind of have the lore cards talking about how there's friction
How there's
a little
friction,
bit.
yeah. Once again, lore
Yeah,
cards,
but
right?
but
But
again,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
good. I still I might have been exposed more to those lore cards, but that was decent. But yeah, like you said, just entering the last city, seeing what's going on there, telling some human stories. I don't want to go to the solar system. I don't want to go to Titan or some moon of Saturn, right? Like you said, expand the city. Let's go out and have a mission where you're clearing out a den of holdout cabal or holdout elixir, and you're establishing new trade posts out in the beyond the last city, right? You're pushing the frontiers. I mentioned Destiny Rising Mobile, the whole social aspect of the game, right? One of the things that kept me playing Destiny was the people I've been playing with, right? I played with you. We had our clan and everything like that. Let's get some clan functionality in the game. I don't think that takes a lot of massaging or a lot of
They've
game.
always talked about that. They've always talked about, oh, we're gonna have maybe a clan menu in the game or something. That was a feature they were really remember early on. Hey, we're gonna have clans, and then nothing.
Yeah,
Oh, you get a clan banner. Okay, well, what about the inter-clan PvP or clan things for PvE or raids? Nothing.
nothing,
Nothing.
nothing. So and this is what I say about GTA, right? GTA, I'll remake this point, but GTA is one of those 10-year or older games that doesn't have a fan base that is like vitriolic with the game, right? And that's a major achievement. And I think the reason is because GTA has essentially done what the fans asked. First of all, they make a lot of money and they've kept that money and reinvested it into the game. But everything that fans have asked for in GTA, they have put it in the game. You want to play have the cops and robbers fantasy? We'll put that in the game. You want to be a biker? We'll put that in the game. You want mansions? Took us a while. We'll put it in the game, right? They just continue to put stuff that people asked. I don't really remember how long it's been since we've asked for expanded vault space or
Yeah, and they add that
revamp
a
the
little bit
vault.
here and there.
Yeah,
Yep.
revamp
Yep.
the vault. How do you have three characters where every character can have like 600 pieces or items and you don't have a way to sort through that stuff? Like you don't have a,
Or
a
how about
major sorting
here's one.
system?
How about the gunsmith does something? right? They had Arms Day back in D1, but how about no? It's like, hey, the gunsmith can swap optics on your guns, or he can swap little attachments. He can't swap perks, maybe, unless she's
Yeah.
really crazy. But he can swap other stuff. Yeah, little things that make
Well,
the
they
field the
yeah.
world feel a little bit more alive, right? Like
Now they
you
did
really
mine. They did
invest a little bit
mine.
more. Yeah,
Yeah, they did mine.
yeah,
To be fair, but it took
yeah.
years
Eventually,
and years
yeah,
and years of people
yep.
asking. You get to a point where you say, okay, for as much communication, we do these twabs and all this stuff and twits or whatever they call them, and we have this weekly communication. As for as much as a game supposedly communicates with us, they don't actually give us what we want, and they
Oh
continue
no,
to try
yeah,
to tell us what we want with these characters and with these stories, and it's a slow. They're creating a slow death for the game.
yeah. And
Um,
so how do you translate that? How do you translate that back into goodwill? And again, this is still Destiny 2 keeps going. How do what again? Like again, we got some ideas there, but do we have anything else to where hey, can we or are we saying you know what? Even if they do all this, you need a Destiny
you need a
3.
Destiny 3. That's my final verdict.
Okay, all right.
You need a Destiny 3.
So let's transition to that. So Destiny 3, what needs to be in Destiny 3?
Destiny 3. So you need a total reset of the game. I think that you need to establish the rarity of items again. I don't remember the last time I got excited for an exotic to
Yeah.
drop.
Remember, exotics used to be a big deal.
It used to be
Like
a big
it
deal.
was a drop. You're like, oh wow, it's an exotic, and all
Yeah,
same. All right, you get a
yeah.
million of them.
They. I mean, there's so much they need to do with the Destiny 3. I think you start small with Destiny 3. You totally because these characters are immortal. Maybe you. I was talking to you about this. What would happen if the primary threat, being a witness, was killed in real life and you were a guardian? You probably
Yeah,
wouldn't
what
want
would
to
actually
stay
happen?
on the planet. You'd probably be like, look,
That's
I'm
right.
going out
You'd
to the
leave,
stars and
or
I'm going to see what's
maybe
out there.
yeah, you do that. I mean I mean that's there's your basis for a story right there. Or maybe you have hey, what would actually humanity do after this? Well, they'd expand, right? They'd start colonizing and they'd retake Earth, right? All of these things that would happen, and you can establish. I mean, think of again. We've talked about this a little bit. It's like think about what would happen. What would happen is you probably have humanity would probably you know what we don't really want the Guardians around anymore. We don't really need them anymore. There's kind of a dying breed. They never really mentioned how much of them there were, but let's if you keep it the same time, how about the rising political movement that's like oh we don't really need the Guardians anymore. You guys really should step back, right? How about humanity having a hopeful future properly? Or here's something bigger. How about you do like 100-year time skip and we allow all of these basically that gives all the lore time to kind of percolate, right? And you have all this, then you can have a bunch of events happen that shape the universe. And your character, you can be the same guy, you can be the same character in 100 years, but now your character is in a world, in a universe where humanity and the Alliance have expanded, and maybe there's some tensions. There's tensions, again from the political side of humanity. You don't need anything complicated. There's natural things that would happen. You could answer questions like, "Hey, can Guardians have kids? Are they all sterile?" Right? Where's their place in expanding humanity? If there's a finite amount of them, it's a finite amount of ghosts that means they're only ever dwindling. You could answer those questions. How would humanity look at that? Right? I mean, actually, the original lore, remember in D1, it was actually really cool. They had the consensus? They had like the Guardians, they had basically Guardians and Lightbearers doing all this cool stuff and trying to, you had warlords trying to take over parts of the planet. And then you had the consensus of Lysander, right? Remember, a kind of a not mentioned name, right? He's in the lore a little bit. I think he basically tried to rebel, right? And then they just kind of let that hang, and they never did anything else with it because clearly the writers who wrote that were more interested in what was actually going on in the world and these events that would shape it. Do that. Skip 100 years. Let the world breathe. Exactly like you're saying. Let the world breathe. Take like a year off or so, and then just drop this new one. Right? It's brand new. It's a lot of systems you love, and love. But yeah, you bring some real rarity back. You bring here's this. You bring the art style from D1 back because that's what it should never have gone anywhere else, right? You bring the art style back, you keep this mystery of the world, and you're in like a new solar system or something like that, right? You're part of humanity's expanding arm, and you get to see a new
Who
threat,
knows where we'll
right?
go,
Because again, you've given it 100 years.
what
Now you
we'll
get some
become.
races that are out in the universe. They get to do something, and they get to be
The
unique. You don't
rest
have to fight the old enemies anymore,
lies
right? Because that's
beyond.
always been kind of a problem in Destiny is the enemies all feel the same. Like Halo had this amazing AI where each individual unit kind of acted very differently. And in Destiny, the AI is all the same. There's a rusher unit. There's even if it doesn't make sense for there to be one. There's an aggressive unit. There's a shield unit. There's a sniper. Throw something different. Throw something unique, right? Make a new faction. And then again, you can also have the political tensions of humanity and these other groups bubbling and then you have I mean, that's grounds for an amazing world and story, right? And
Yeah.
it's all new.
Yeah.
It's and all the here's a big thing. Kill off all those old characters. I don't want to see Ikora anymore. I think she's stupid. I don't see Zavala anymore. Ever since I found out that he's just a wuss who keeps crying all the time, I don't want to see him anymore. He cried in multiple expansions. Then he cried again in the what is it the basically the final one. He was like, "Oh, my son, my
Hey,
son." I was like,
hey, Zavala's my
"Dude,
favorite
you
character,
did it
man.
again. You already did that. You already had the whole nightmare thing where you cried about your son. Okay, stop crying about him. He's dead. It wasn't even your son. He was adopted, right? You didn't have a kid because you never mentioned if you were sterile. Apparently, during the whole time you were married, you never were like, hey, let's see if we can
I'm
have
gonna
a
need
kid.
you
No,
to let me
no,
just
he
stop
just
piling
adopted some
on.
guy.
Let me
Okay,
stop piling on my favorite
okay.
characters of Zavala here.
Sorry, yeah. Well, not
No,
really. No,
I'm just
not really.
joking. But look,
But kill
what
them
about
all, and
this?
then or just have them exist elsewhere outside the
What
universe,
about
right?
this?
You know what
Right?
I mean?
I like your idea. I think that's great. I think if we went
Okay,
down that
okay.
road, I'm all on board for that. I'd be very excited. I think what you bring, with your perspective, is we get a little bit of the old nostalgia where you can have the nostalgia where like, oh man, what is? Remember that Cosmodrome area or Titan that we wandered 1,000 times over? What does it look like 100 years later? Right? Is that
Yeah,
church that
exactly. You can have Earth rebuild,
you can have? Yeah, you
right?
can have things
Earth would
that were
rebuild. This
decrepit.
world
Yeah.
would
What would it look like?
it
Right?
would all exist. That's right. What would
I
it look
think
like? What
that's
would
great.
humanity look with 100 years in the future?
I
What
think
like because
that's
and
awesome.
again, all the tensions that arise from that because
Mhm.
that's I mean, look at real life, right? That's how it works.
But I'll give an alternative to that.
Okay.
ODST. We go the ODST route. You got you don't take control of a Spartan, right? In ODST, you were a drop shot trooper, something like that, a Marine. What if
That's right.
we in Halo weren't a Guardian, right? The Guardians had gone to the
But
stars.
you
They
were the
took
grunt.
out
You were one of the
you're
Marines.
yeah
Yeah.
you're a
Absolutely.
grunt
You
in
could even
Destiny.
do a mid game about that, dude. You could literally do an interim kind of like ODST. You could task some guys to it. Doesn't need to be amazing. Just needs to have a good story, right? And you just shrink all the Destiny mechanics down. Maybe there's some Guardians pop up, but you are on the ground in this 100 years as humanity expands, and you again, all you do is you maybe see like, them, or maybe even the ultimate enemy is like a Guardian's gone rogue, right? And the whole game we talked about this, I think. We've talked about this before. We have to be really careful because your guardians are super dangerous, right? They're powerful at space magic. The whole game would be a build up to putting one of these guys down,
That's
just one,
that's the whole yeah.
and
So
it
that's
would
where I
be
was
a
going with it.
nightmare.
You've got a
Yeah.
guardian
Yep.
who's decided to go rogue because I'll be honest with you, I would probably stay in line, right? If I had all these
Yeah,
powers
but
and
some would, and
paracausal powers, I would
they
probably
already
stay
had
in
them in the
line.
lore
But
doing
there
it,
would be a lot of
right?
people who would be like, "Oh, the major baddie is done now. Guess what? I'm dipping out, and I'm going out into the universe. And as soon as I
I'm
find
staking
me,
a solar system.
yeah, as soon as I
That's
find me a
right.
planet, it's my planet, and I might come back here and start causing trouble for you." Right? I'm not going to do it at Earth because there's a lot of people around Earth who would
Yeah,
put
well,
me in
again,
the
in
ground real
50,
quickly.
100 years, humanity's gonna have fleets. You're not gonna do it, even as a guardian. And there's other guardians can do it, but you can strike out on your own. You can oppress. You can do whatever, like a warlord again, and that's a prime beat.
And your job as
That could,
this
yep,
grunt would be to go out there, find them, and with the technology, because
and
now
kill
it's
them.
not about it
Yeah,
kill them, but
yeah,
now it's not about powers, right? It's more about we've reestablished the golden age, and one of the
that's
things
right.
that you
How
always
does
do,
humanity come up with technology against guardians, even
that's
with the
because they
space
would do
magic
it.
technology
No,
advances?
they would do it.
Exactly,
They
and
would
so
say, "Look,
well, that's what I
Guardians were
mean.
great for
Hey,
us, but we've got to establish something now because those Guardians, the same people that were our sword, that's a double edge, and they could come back and
that's
they could
right.
try to
That's
take
yeah.
us over."
Again, and that's a beat in Destiny 3 right there too, right?
Mhm.
That would be a major beat in Destiny 3. Like I said, I think this is great for like an interim game because I mean everyone likes to be the Guardians, right? It's cool to be that character, right? But
I
this is a
think you could make it
fantastic
cool
interim
being
game, you
no,
know?
no. I
Yeah.
think you could make it cool being the main installment of the next game, not an interim game, where your powers it still looks flashy, it still looks crazy, like a guy can slam the ground. He's just not doing it with the power of
No,
the
no, I don't
the.
think so. I just see, I see, but you know, I think you're 100% onto something. But I think this would be a great interim because you could set again in between the skip period and you could again establish more interesting lore. You could establish humanity. You could establish all these political things that are bubbling up, right? That are part of the main story. You could establish how humanity feels about the Guardians now, how and see how some of them strike out, and again, but reestablish still how dangerous they are even with that, right? And
Right.
these are not, and
But
you
I'm
establish everything for the third game, and so you again, kind of like you were talking about time to breathe. your breathing room is this installment. It sets the stage. No, you don't think so? Yeah, I think that
No,
sets the stage for everything,
no,
dude.
I think that's where we disagree, but that's okay. What I
But
would
but,
do when
but,
I
but
say
what you're
let
talking
it
about is a single
breathe.
player game, though,
No,
right?
I'm
That's a
talking
single.
about
This is
Destiny 3. This is Destiny 3 now.
Yeah, I
You
know,
will
but
be
how do
playing.
you map that onto like a multiplayer game? That's a because what you're pitching me is an amazing single player game. This is a an
No, so
experience
the
that you go hunt,
technology,
right?
right? Instead of the traveler being the source of everything, the traveler is the source
Yeah,
of titans, warlocks, and hunters, and the differentiation between those, which they haven't explained that either, right? In
yeah, I
this
never really
game,
did. Yeah,
everything would revolve around guardian killers, right? We've said,
okay.
look, we as a city now,
We're going something
we're
totally different.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We
Oh, okay. All right.
because the Guardians now might be the biggest threat. Now that
Yeah,
all
they
the
might
other
be the
stuff is done,
outcasts.
yeah, the
Yeah,
Guardian is the
yep,
biggest threat.
you
So
got
it makes
yeah, room
sense
for
that
that.
a government would say, okay, we need to establish technology, and then your classes would be based off the ways in which you hunt Guardians as a group, right?
I see. That's you know what, and hey, that's interesting. Even if they went without Destiny 3, I wouldn't be sad because it'd be such a cool shift in tone, right? Yeah, you're right. They could be such a cool shift in narrative tone. Again, you can establish everything I was talking about. You could literally establish in that universe,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just again the expansion of humanity and how it grates against these old powers.
Yeah,
What
yeah,
what a setting, right? Like
yeah,
what a setting. Like that's you could have everything. You could have guardians enslaving people, right?
yeah,
And just setting up their
yeah.
own camps. You
Yes.
could have them becoming power hungry despots. You can even have like a small but dwindling core of them basically as humanity's knights. Maybe the unappreciated knights, but knights nonetheless. And you
Yep.
could set all these story beats in there and I mean, here's a great one. Then you can have guys like that betrayed. You could be hunting the bad ones, but then sometimes you also hunt the good ones, and then some of them are just betrayed from the inside, and there's so few left.
Oh,
And then here, guess what? And here's where you get a cameo. Here's where you kill off all those stupid ass old characters, but you cameo your guy,
yeah,
or
your
your
guys.
character. He gets away. So there's a few that are out in the universe, and then that you could again go further into Destiny 3, where again I still think what you're pitching to me is an amazing single player experience because you know what happens is if you get into multiplayer or you have like an MMO as the experience you're talking about, I feel like that would dilute the story so heavily, right?
Mm,
This doesn't. This sounds like a character-driven installment where
mm,
it's much more linear, right? I would almost think of like Metro Exodus, right? Much more linear, little open world stuff, but character-driven, and that's hard to do in an MMO because well, there's just so other things an MMO has to service.
sure.
Destiny as like a shooter, an MMO shooter, how it works, it has to have new player systems. It has to have social systems. No, this is a game where no, this is story driven, character driven, setting the tone for a series. And then Destiny 3, again, you take all that, you do that, and then Destiny 3 or Destiny 3.5 or whatever you call it is you as your character, the Guardian, who maybe survived the hit in the last game, right, or something that happened, now has to live in this world, right? I don't know, man.
I think so.
That's what
You
it
know
sounds
what?
like, you know.
That sounds. I think that's a nice little compliment. I do see
Yeah,
what you're saying.
because I don't want
Yeah,
to
you don't
ruin
want the
your
story
idea.
to
Your
be
idea
lost.
sounds like it's primed for that. Like again, like Halo. Halo has a great multiplayer, but really is it's about the co-op, the single player campaign with its beats. Again, it's not even complicated, but with its beats, with its the characters it has, with the interesting like points it has that show up, with humanity's struggle. It's hard to do that. I mean, look in Destiny. They're like always like, oh, humanity's on the back foot. Really doesn't feel like we're on the back foot because all the back foot events happened before we showed up, and then after that, it's just there's never any like, oh, well, we won or we lost. No, it's just we win. We win every time,
That's
right?
true.
So
That's true.
you need that single player story to drive the knife. And well, actually, well, we won so much, and now they're losing,
Yeah, because
right?
knowing me, I'd
Yeah.
be the person that like creates the story, and then they'd be like, "But hey, we got to make sure we
How do we
balance
work
these weapons."
multiplayer into
Yeah,
this? Yeah.
that's
How do
right.
we
And I'd
sell
be so
skins? And
pissed.
you go, no, no,
But don't
not
worry,
the
we're gonna
game,
put your
bro.
story in the
Yep.
lore cards. Don't worry. I'd be like,
Exactly.
no.
You see what I'm
So
saying, right? No,
yeah,
this is a stellar single player experience. And then you do mid range, like I said, you said 50, even 100 years. You again because you can time skip however much you want. Said like 100 years after the end of Destiny 2, you you just set up this world. And then Destiny 3 is another 50 years or so after that, right? And then that way you can still cameo some other characters in there, like the living ones, and then like maybe the character from whatever character was that you set from the main game, the middle installment game. But then you are now in this world, and maybe yeah, again, there's you can explore everything. You can explore the politics. You can explore how they feel in this kind of dying out. But then you can also explore, hey, is there a way to reestablish their ascendancy? Should we even do that, right? Even good writers can explore those ideas. I always think that they should bring in like Brandon Sanderson. I think he does great work, right? Just bring him in and help him write this new world because he's great. And then come back to the old art style and then just run with it. but again, in the meantime, do this middle installment where it's this, because those single player games also it's less resources. Think about it financially, less resources. You sate the guys who wanted a marathon to be what marathon's supposed to be, which is a single player game. You bring those guys back in. You have this tight story with great gameplay, and that goes. Everyone goes, oh, Bungie still does actually know what the hell they're doing still. We were a little bit lost for a while, but they actually do know what they're doing. Because even if you had Destiny 3, okay, the hardcore guys like you and I would buy it, right? We go, okay, fine. Hey, the trailers look good. We're gonna play it. We'll play another 10 years. But a lot of people get, well, I played Destiny 2. Do I really want to play it again for 10
Yeah,
years?
yeah.
You'd have to
Get in
get
the
those guys.
groundwork.
Like ODST was that great, it was that great little nugget where you're like, wow, this is stellar. This is just a unique, fun experience. Could have been even more unique, right? But it lives inside
Yeah.
that
Let
world.
me let me tell you what would be the let me and I'm gonna end it here.
You can end
But I
on it.
wanna I
Okay, that's
wanna I wanna
perfect.
give you the I wanna give you the trailer that I would launch for my game. You'd see a guardian and there'd be a judge reading out his charges, right? And he would be like, "You are being brought, in front of this court for your crimes against humanity." Right? And he's naming it. You used your fist of havoc to destroy this
Yeah.
village. You
And
used,
you know what should be happening while in
your
this cutscene
sunshot.
too,
Mm-hmm.
while you have this core, this high technological core again, just to throw it in there.
Mm-hmm.
You should have cutscenes of him even being a good guy, right, saving people. But it's not important to
Yeah,
this court, right? Because this is part of the
yeah,
political
that's
pressure, right?
right. That's
Maybe he
right.
saved people,
Yeah,
right? But
yeah.
then maybe he
So
saved people, maybe, but
as the
like
judge is
he maybe
reading it
he's a good
out,
one, right?
yeah, as the judge is reading out his charges, flashbacks of him doing all this stuff and
Doing all the
saving
good
people,
stuff. And
right?
then he starts to go awry at the end, and you realize, well, he was a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because here's the thing too: if you cut that stuff in, then you could go, oh, it was a human hunting, which I still think is the best idea. Human hunting guardians, or just an outcast guardian getting hunted.
Yeah,
And
things
you
get
again,
dark,
and
right? Things get dark,
yeah,
like you
things get
said, as
dark,
the
yeah.
judge
And
is
I because
reading out
either way,
Morse's
you can
charges.
introduce this inferiority that they're living in all of a sudden. Humanity has ascended; they're hunting you down.
And it's the
These
light and
guys, the hunters,
darkness.
are dangerous.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
we're
Where do you reach
reflecting
into the
that back.
dark? Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
We're
nice single player title. Do you reach into the dark? I'm sorry. Anyway, continue with the trailer. I'm getting,
You're getting
I'm
excited.
spinning
You're
off in my
getting
head.
excited. Yeah, you've seen it. And at the end, they have him. He's actually being held down. Right. He's on a knee and he's being held down. And you see him start to power up. Right. He's starting to. I don't
And
know.
that
Maybe
trailer cuts
no. He gets his head
right
chopped
there.
off. Head chopped off. As he's
Oh,
powering up,
oh.
your new character chops his head off to say the
No, no, no.
Guardians are
But no, no. But
done.
here's the thing though.
Mm-hmm.
I disagree. No, just okay, no, stop that. I see what you're doing, but don't do that. And the only reason I'd say because for the trailer,
Yeah.
you want that sense of mystery. You want the sense of you want to know what happens, right? So in the trailer, he starts to power up, and the trailer ends. In the game, this happens, and he starts to power up, and he dies, right? And immediately, everyone who watched the trailer like, "What? That guy was going to juice all these dudes." No, that's why the trailer ended there because you thought he might live. He ain't gonna live, bro. And
Mm-hmm.
that immediately sets the tone of the game,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because here's the thing: this isn't even the main character. He's a guardian. He was doing good stuff. Maybe he went a little awry towards the end, but maybe he's redeemable. In the trailer, you think maybe he's gonna break out and he's gonna say, you know what, I'm gonna be a. And that's why the trailer ends there. But then you get to the main game and no, he gets a bullet in the back of the head and the ghost gets shattered.
I
And
tell
that's it.
you what,
Humanity knows how to kill these guys. There you go.
that would
Right?
pull a lot of
That's
people.
that's a hype right
That would
there,
pull a
right?
lot of
It's
people
it's
in.
like Expedition 33, right?
Oh
You
man.
everyone got the trailer, you get to introduce all these characters, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but things go a little bit sideways, and that is in itself is you're like it's again it's yeah obviously it's shocking, but it's also like because the game took the time to go, hey, you may think something's going to happen here, you're going to be wrong. But the game doesn't tell you you're going to be wrong. In a trailer like that, again, yeah, it's you get to set the stage. And again, he's not even the main character. You're the character you're actually going to inhabit. Maybe he's even the guy who pulls the trigger, right? Because like you have this whole thing about it. You get to the game finally after the trailer. Everyone's like, "Oh, I've seen this scene. He's powering up." But then and you're not in the perspective of even the guy who kills him, right? But so the guy kills him, and then it jumps to that guy's perspective. It zooms in, and that's your character. You're the guy who just put a bullet in the back of this guy's head, and you smoke the ghost with fancy technology or however you do it, right? That immediately again you go, "Oh, that was the main character." This guy was not. We thought he was. He was not the main character.
I'm telling you, man, that'll do it. So I think that's it. I think we covered it. In fact, I'm sure we covered it. We got our best of. We got what we do to improve the game. At the end of the day, I think we might have saved the game. What do you think?
Yeah, dude, I think so. I mean, now if only the devs will just like key in, if they'll jump away from their little stage, little hangouts where they don't answer anything interesting and just listen to like people who actually played the game, right? And maybe they'll figure something out. You know,
Maybe
I
they
don't know.
will.
I don't
Maybe they
think they
won't.
will, but maybe will.
We'll see. We'll see where we're at in another 10 years. All right, man. It's been real.
Shit. All right, same. See you, man.